I remember when we talked about this story when I guess the idea to have a class action lawsuit was first broached, and we're like, there's not a chance in hell. It's Facebook, when it was still Facebook, not
Mm-hmm.
Meta. It's a giant organization. This is what they do. This is how they structure their algorithm. And we're like, no, it's not going to. Guess what? Happening. So originally, so this is a demand for a class action lawsuit, and now apparently it's going to be able to go to trial because a judge has cleared the way for that to happen. Originally brought because a woman said, and this has nothing to do with kids, by the way, a 65-year-old woman was looking for a new job. She alleged that she was never shown employment ads on Facebook despite being an active user because advertisers chose to exclude people her age by design. And that's what this all stems from. Jean-Michel Boudreau is a partner at IMK Law Firm on the line right now, who launched the suit, by the way. First of all, do you say congratulations on a day like today,
Right.
Jean-Michel, or not?
Yeah, I guess so. You can. Thank you.
So what happens from here on in? You have a green light. What's the next step in the process?
Okay, so next step is after we have authorization in Quebec or certification in other provinces, then this begins somewhat like a regular lawsuit. So everything that was done before is a precondition to doing a class action. And now we just start the real litigation. And even before we do, there's a notice that's going to go out. A notice that says, hello, there's a class action that was authorized. You could be a member of this class action.
Right.
And you have the right to exclude yourself if you would like to. If not, you'll be a part of this class action that's going forward. So that's really the first step. And then there are a couple of months that are going to go by so that we know if anyone's excluded themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll be assigned a new judge, and then we begin discovery. So that we'll be asking for more documents from Facebook, Meta.
All right. So when you usually get involved in these class action suits, this whole idea of do you want to exclude yourself, who's automatically included without having to exclude themselves?
That's an important question. And most provinces in Canada work the same way as Quebec. Quebec is an opt-out jurisdiction. That means that people have nothing to do. It's a question that we often have.
Right.
Well, there's a class action. I think I'm a member. What do I need to do? You don't need to do anything. You need to take action if you don't want to be part of a class action. You might want to do that if you want to sue Facebook by yourself. I'm not going to tell you if that's a good or a bad idea, but that's the main reason why you would want to exclude yourself. So typically people do not take that step. And just by doing nothing, they remain part of this class action.
Okay.
And if we win, ultimately, they'll benefit from whatever we get in the class action.
So what, just a Facebook user? That's who's in this? If I use Facebook, I'm automatically in this?
At this point, I mean, you would need to be a Facebook user who was either looking for employment or housing or interested in housing and employment.
Okay.
So that's a condition. Ultimately, you'll have to be someone who is excluded from the advertisement based on race, sex, or age. That could be difficult to determine right now, but for sure the interest in employment or housing is a precondition.
Okay. Aaron said, he mentioned in passing off the top that this doesn't involve children. It immediately made me think about how in Quebec you are not allowed to have any advertising that targets children. So does that come into play? Does Quebec have particular laws here about who you are and are not allowed to target in your advertising?
It doesn't. Incidentally, I represented McDonald's in a similar class action, but no, that does not come into play. This is the law that you're referring to. That's based on the Consumer Protection Act. Mm-hmm. This lawsuit against Meta Facebook is based on the Quebec Charter of Human Rights.
Okay. I'm wondering, too, if you are, so this woman was 65 and over, is the class action for people of that age or 60 and over or just any age where you feel you've been targeted?
Any age, because we, and I thank the media, the evidence that we were able to gather to have this class action move forward was uncovered by some journalists that did some investigative work and allowed us to get past that threshold. And where I'm going is that we only have a small sample of the discriminatory ads. But you asked me what's going to happen next, and I said we're going to ask for documents from Facebook. So we think that we're going to uncover many more similar ads, and it's possible that some jobs, maybe they thought some people were too young, or it could be that it's not 50, but it was 45, 40.
Okay.
I'm also curious. I've noticed now on Meta, they ask you if you want to have more targeted advertising. Do you like these kinds of ads? Would you like to see more like this? And then they say it won't affect what you see in your feed. Is there anything like that? And I know Meta owns Facebook, but this is specific to Facebook, right? Instagram's not included in this lawsuit?
They're not included in this particular lawsuit, no.
Okay. And is there anything like that for Facebook where people kind of say, yes, I want more of these ads, and maybe could have been determining their own feed in terms of advertising?
I couldn't tell you if it exists on Facebook, but I think one thing to notice is I've been insisting on housing and employment because you cannot discriminate in those fields.
Right.
If you want to sell makeup to women, we might disagree, but you're still allowed to do that today.
Okay.
Right?
So,
you can target products at a specific audience. You
That's
just
a huge
can't do
difference.
it in employment.
I'm wondering, though, like in cases in class action suits, Jean-Michel, sometimes, it's, or you bought a faulty product, you're going to sue. If you have a receipt, if you have the product, you're in the game. How would you prove here, I mean, unless you'd kept a record somehow that you could be one of those people who would be in this class action because, in fact, you had been discriminated against? Where's that proof?
I mean, look, defendants, and they will argue that in court, they'll often make arguments like that. This is going to be impossible. We'll never know who was part of it and who was not. The reality of class actions is often you have collective recovery. You have a big amount that's awarded, and then it's a matter of what we call liquidation and see who's going to get paid. And there are ways that people can file a declaration. I don't know if you remember the big DRAM price fixing class action. It was just a form on online. You said, I had a computer, and you got $20. So that's, to me, that's not the biggest concern. It's the defendants are allowed ultimately to see who's really part of the group, but it's really at the end of the process.
Okay. No, I'm only asking because I was looking forward to that $20 check. But
and also this should prevent, going forward, this should prevent this from happening.
So that was a big thing, and Facebook has said, even now before the Court of Appeal, that they've already implemented the measures so that it's not, they're no longer allowing that. They had done it in the U.S. before we filed this in Canada, and we said, we want you to do it in Canada as well. So my understanding is that you could no longer make those choices on Facebook today, but we didn't speak about algorithmic discrimination, which is where the ad is pushed to an audience without intervention from the advertisers themselves. You just say, hey, Facebook, you have AI, you have a model, give me the best audience. And once again, you could probably do that for makeup. But if you do that because you're looking for a construction worker and the algorithm says, well, they're mostly men, so I'm going to feed this ad only to men, we are saying that is wrong and discriminatory.
Okay, well, there you go.
Very interesting.
Big win, and we'll see. It's a long way from being settled, I guess, at the end of the day. Jean-Michel Boudreau from IMK Law Firm. Thank you, Jean-Michel. Appreciate it.
Thank you.